And we have that same kind of mentality today, where the reason people are not willing to marry, and the reason marriages don't last is because people don't get married for the right reasons. They don't get married to make commitments. They don't get married out of an understanding of virtue and character. See if I can illustrate this to you. Basically, people today pursue romantic feelings. They pursue romantic emotions. There's a new book out. I saw it reviewed this last week called Love and Limeration. I think it's limeration, the word. It's a coined a word. Limeration is supposed to be a word to describe the bells that ring when you go through that stupid romantic feeling time. You know, you're just in a stupor all the time, and it's all that hearts and flowers, puppy love, infatuation, whatever you want to call it. But now I want you to resist comment, folks, on this till I get through. But the point is, as you go through life, in our society, people look for one emotion after another emotion. They're pursuing romantic feeling, not real romance in the true sense. That'll always be there, but they're pursuing romantic feeling. And I want you to know that this book shows, a series of sociologists did tests and all of that kind of thing, surveys, that and they call it love. I call it romantic feeling. They call it love. All love dies, is the conclusion of their book. And by their definition, it does. All that giddy, romantic emotion dies. It all dies. It'll always die. I mean, all of us who've been married for a long time realize that we no longer feel about our partner the way we did when we had that euphoria of romantic emotion and feeling at the beginning. Now, from time to time, it recurs, I confess. And it's wonderful that it does. It recurs a lot in my wife. And I'm happy about that. But basically speaking, I think that's true romance, the fruit of love. But romantic feeling is that high euphoria. And people make relationships on romance, and when they lose that feeling, they go to somebody else. So everything is short-lived. You just hop from one feeling to another, one romantic emotion to another. And you're with a person a while, and the relation starts to settle, and somebody else comes across your path, and something triggers in your mind and your heart, and you find an attraction, and you begin to think about that person, and away those emotions go again. And so you dump this guy and you run over to that one because there's the new emotion, and you go through life doing that until you finally burned off everything you ever could have had emotionally of genuine feeling, and you end up alone with nothing but emptiness. But that's the way the world lives. And they won't come to marriage with commitment because they see marriage as commitment. And it's got to be that. They won't see it that way, so they go from one romance to another romance to another romance to another romance. And the result of it is just what we see in our society today. The saddest result is we're producing a generation of disoriented, unloved, lonely, isolated kids who are turning into criminals and misfits because they don't have any meaningful long-term relationships to identify with. Really tragic. Listen, if you get married for an emotional feeling, you're making a big, big mistake. Now, I'm not against that. There should be some of that there. But you better be able to see beyond that to virtue, to character. You better be able to see beyond that to values and understand that you share common values, common spiritual values, common life values. And you better understand that you are making a lifelong one man, one woman, strong bond, one flesh, God-made, no divorce union. That's God's plan. And people in our society, they don't even understand that. I heard a speaker yesterday, I was watching a little videotape, and he was relating the story of a particular gentleman who'd been in the ministry and been married for nearly 50 years. His sons are in the ministry. One of them is a seminary professor. And he was giving the story of the death of this man's wife, the mother of these sons. They had been married a long, long time, and one morning, he, by the way, was giving this story at a women's lib meeting to try to illustrate the difference between true love and true relationship and romance. And he said, One morning she came down. They were eating breakfast together as they had done for years and years and years. She ate her breakfast and fell over on the table. And he scooped up her body and he ran. Her sons were there. He ran out the door, ran to his car without saying anything, put her body delicately in the car and floored it to the hospital. And by the time he got there, she was dead. Well, you have to be with somebody that you love for nearly 50 years to understand the emptiness. And they had the service, and everyone was there, and the sons were there, and of course he knew she was with the Lord Jesus Christ, and that's where his devotion was as well. And after the service had taken place at the graveside, they got in the car and they were on their way home, and he said to his son, "Stop, I have to go back." And so they stopped the car and they said, "Look, we don't want you to go back, Dad. It's too much for you. You don't need any more sorrow. We need to just go on." And he says, "No, I have to go back. I have to go back." And so trying to argue him out of it wasn't successful. They turned around, they went back, and he went out to the grave, and he walked out, and he knelt down, and he patted the grave. Stood there for a few moments. Then he went back, and he said, "Now it's all right, we can go." He went back, got in the car, and he said to his sons, he said, "This is a good day. This is a wonderful day." And they said, "Well, what do you mean?" He said, "This is just the way I wanted it to be." "Well, what do you mean?" "Oh," he said, "I always wanted her to go first. Always. And so this is a good day." And then this man who was speaking to this women's lib group said, "Listen, anybody who knows the meaning of true love always wants the other person to go first because they don't want them to endure the pain and the sorrow and the anxiety of loneliness and the burial of the one they've loved." And he said, "I dare say that your romantic relationships are a far cry from that kind of feeling and reality." And he was right. He was right. But you see, people settle for a cheap substitute of the rich, deepening, profound, thrilling, meaningful friendship that two souls knit together in love can experience as years go on.